What's going on, everybody? My name's Stephen Coons. Welcome to the Everyday Pursuit podcast. I just got done being sick, so if I'm coughing in the middle of this episode, number one, I'm not going to cut it out, so you just have to deal with it. And number two, I just apologize in advance because I actually feel way better today than I have the last like 6 or 7 days. It's like an 8 or 9 day sickness. Not fun. I don't wish it on anybody. Really bad upper respiratory infection. And this has absolutely nothing to do with today's episode. I just thought I'd give you a life update. Today's episode is really based on like you as an individual making decisions that will like probably change the trajectory of your life. And I want you guys to really quick before I like dive in deep. I want you to think of just a few examples where you've made a decision in your life that was huge, that like really changed like the trajectory of maybe your career or a relationship, or like, oh, if I didn't go on a date with that one girl, this wouldn't have happened. And this, and right? You kind of see like a butterfly effect. And then I just want you to take a second, you can even pause it and like really think of those things. If you're at home, I strongly suggest writing them down. And here's why. At the end, when I go through the whole episode, you'll be able to actually go back and be like, wow, there was the 3 C's that took place in every one of these situations. You might say 3 C's, what are the 3 C's? Great question. The 3 C's to any type of like new action, right? Or new way of life, because things don't change unless there's some type of action, right? Like for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction, right? So the 3 C's is you need to make a choice, okay? The first one is all mental. It's literally you just making a decision, right? The second C is you're going to take a chance. Why? You might be like, oh, no, I know for sure. No, you don't. Literally, nothing in this life is guaranteed. Now, there's some things that are like 99.999% sure. And I get it. You're like, if I touch my leg, I'm going to feel me touch my leg. Yes, I get it. But when we're doing like, things that challenge us or things that are kind of unknown, uncertain, it's scary, right? So in almost every situation, and I'll give you some real life examples, we have to take a chance. And then this is where the big one comes. The change is the third C. So basically you have to take or make a choice to take a chance to make a change. And I'm going to break down like, of course, a fitness example for you guys, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to give you kind of like, it's not a real life example for me, but like a real life example. Let's say you're in a terribly toxic relationship. Your spouse is gaslighting you. They're just like a jerk, whatever. Okay. Bad spouse, toxic relationship. You have to first make a choice. Like, this is unhealthy. I need to get out of it. I'm not saying go divorce your partner. That's not what I'm saying. But like, if you're dating somebody and it's just not good, like you have to first make the internal decision of and realization of like, I need to do something different. Okay. But just that decision alone or that mental process alone doesn't mean anything's actually going to change. Because how many times have you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get out of this relationship. I'm going to get a new job, and you didn't do shit, right? So that's a good place to start, but it doesn't actually like do anything. And this is where most people get really spun up on. And I feel like they actually get caught in between 1 and 2, like the first C and the second C, more than anything else, because they first make the decision, right? They're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, it's all mental, super easy. It takes no effort and no energy. But then when they realize like, oh, wait, I have to take a chance. We have literally 2 brains. We have our fear brain and our brave brain. And I talk about this a ton because it's a decision-making process. Like your mind is so freaking powerful. And since people know, oh, fitness is all mental. Okay, cool. So you have to master the mental if you want to be able to stay in shape, lose the 20 pounds, 30 pounds, get abs, right? Like That is something you have to master, correct? Cool. So because we have to master it, why do people get hung up on the second C? I'll tell you. When we say, oh, I need to take a chance, right? I need to take a risk. We are safety beings. We operate in safety. We do not like to take risks. It's scary. It's dangerous. We want to just stay in our comfort shelter and we don't want to have to do anything. It's super uncomfortable. But I coach other business coaches or other coaches that own coaching businesses. So do some business coaching too. All these coaches have high six-figure businesses and they're really good at what they do and good at sales and good at marketing and all these things. And guess what? Every single one of them deals with fear. Every single one of my clients deals with fear. When I do sales calls all day long with people all the time, a lot of them, it's fear and it's a mindset thing. And I know they're kind of playing the little like devil and angel on their shoulder, like, should I do it? I shouldn't do it, right? So we're always back and forth with our decisions, right? Especially the bigger the decision, the more risk, the more fear that sets in. Let me say that again. The bigger the decision, the more fear that sets in. And there's more catastrophic things that could happen, right? If you go, man, I'm gonna leave this relationship. Well, let's say you have like a kid with this woman, and you're like, okay, man, I'm gonna get a divorce. This relationship's so bad. It's so bad for my child. Okay, well, now, man, what if I get a divorce and that kid has to grow up, with not divorced parents, blah, 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 all this what if. Again, not relationship advice, but the thing is, most people go, you know what, like, there's too many things that could go wrong. I'm not going to do it. Okay. And then the last thing, right? What's the third C? Change. So that will never take place. You'll keep doing exactly what you're doing because you didn't actually take the chance. Now, what the three C's might not tell you by just hearing them is the most action, the actual action comes in step 2. That is why people get caught up between the first C and the second C. The third C is nothing. The third C is just like chilling and waiting because you made a choice and then you took a chance, which was action. You said, I'm going to do this. And then you actually took action, physically did something, and then you're waiting for the change. Now, the change doesn't always have to be good. The change could be not good. It could be bad. It could go the wrong way, which is why people are afraid to take action, or even worse. And I'll tell you why it's worse. People take safety action. They take enough action to where they can be like, oh, I feel so good that I took action. But they know it was like such a shitty half-ass effort. And they have to lie to themselves and tell themselves no, I did. I tried. I did a good job. They have to literally convince themselves. And you can point this person out, and it doesn't mean not calling people out, but you can point this person out really easy because they tell everybody, I'm doing this. I did this. I did this. Now, I'm not saying don't share the good news. You should share what you're working towards, but you shouldn't be proud of putting in 50% effort. That's an F. That's not good. 5 out of 10 is not good, right? So if you sit there and you say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, and you go, well, I made a choice. I took action, but your action was well, I went to the gym, but then you just did random stuff and kind of worked out. You did some stuff, whatever, and did that for 4 months. Well, great job staying consistent, but you didn't really take action. You didn't really fully take the action you should have taken. And that is just cheating yourself from the third C, from the actual change that you want to see. And I see this in business all the time. If you can't relate this to fitness, relate it to business or your career or finances. I see these coaches or just other people too. I have friends with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and they sit there and they're like, I want this to happen. And then I'm like, okay, well, I know everything, but for you to get to this, you probably have to do this, this, and this, and this. And a lot of them are fine. They step up to the plate and they don't do 60% of it or 75 or 80% of it. They do 100% of it. And you want to know what happens? They actually get the freaking result, or they become super close. Then there's the other people, the other business owners that go, oh, okay, cool. And they kind of diddle daddle in it. And they well, I did it, but they didn't actually do it. They didn't actually put the effort in. your action needs to be pretty black and white. Okay. There's not really a gray area. Now, the cool thing is there's different, I know it, maybe not really, but there's different shades of white and different shades of black. And you might be like, well, that's gray. It's different. The action, and I'll explain it. The action is broken down into like you emotionally being fully committed. Let me give you a real life example for some of my clients. When a client joins the program, they all invest the same amount of money, right? Basically. And when they join the program, our hero transformation program, and they start transforming their lives, the first commitment was even because it's the same amount of money, but it might be more money for another person because they might make more, right? So it's all that's the black, right? Like, boom, that's a decision. They made the decision. It's all the same. That's not a gray area. Like you pay or you don't pay, right? Now there's a little bit of leeway because it's like, this amount of money for one person could be a lot. For another person, it could be like, it's not that much. It's a great deal, So that is some variance. Same thing. If somebody goes, I only want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. Well, if somebody says, I want to lose 40 pounds, do you think that they could be the same level of emotionally committed, even though their goals are drastically different, even though the guy that's going to lose 40 pounds might have to work harder? Of course, right? They could both be 100% committed. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like everybody has to be on the even playing field with everything, but it's you being like, I'm giving it 100%, right? That's where the black comes and the white or whatever color you want to mismatch. I would just say most people fail because they either get caught between the first C and the second C and they like don't actually go and take action at all, right? Or they do half-ass action. So they don't even get to see the third C. And I've noticed in my life, every decision I've made, good and bad, really involved like these three processes. They really did. I actually had a client, man, this is like probably 6 months ago, that was just like, you know, on and off, hot and cold in the program. Oh my gosh, like crushed it for 2 months and then like fell off the face of the earth for a month and came back and lost, 10, 15 pounds in 2 months, was on fire and then lost it. And I said, hey man, what's going on? No personal things, no relationship issues. Cause usually, it's some home life stuff. He goes, I just feel like I haven't fully make a commitment, but then like there's something else. And then like, I don't know. I feel like I kind of get there and then I hold myself back and I like kind of get there and I hold myself back and I go, well, what's the third C? We need to work backwards. What change do you want? And when he first came to me, he goes, I want to lose about 40 pounds, ish. And he actually hit that goal. And then he's like, well, I also want to improve some health markers, which he did. He was pre-diabetic and he improved his blood sugar. So he's like, and I just want to be like healthy and like feel good the rest of my life. He was in his late 40s. So I said, okay, cool. So your change that you really want to see, besides like your physical stuff, is like to be healthy and feel good the rest of your life. What do you feel is going to get you to be healthy the rest of your life? He goes, well, I have to just keep doing it. Right. And that's the hardest part for me is the long-term consistency. I go, okay, well, we need to solve that problem. Maybe you haven't actually even hit the first C. Like maybe you haven't actually made the decision to be like, I'm committing to this. Like this isn't something where I'm going to be on and off. This isn't something where I like work out when I feel like it, or, if I'm feeling motivated or if it fits my schedule. This is just what I'm going to do. Like maybe you haven't even actually made the first C, the first decision that you actually want to change, right? Or make a choice, right? Sorry, make a choice. And I think like over 30, 40 minutes of talking, he's like, dude, I don't think I have, which seems weird because he actually had change. He had the last C. So how did he get from one, right, all the way to 3 if he didn't actually accomplish 1? Well, this is what I'm talking about. It's the same thing when people go from 1 to 2 to 3, but they didn't really commit to the second C. They didn't really actually take a chance. They didn't actually take full action. And you can get through all three of them, but they'll never last and they'll never be the actual long lasting change you want. And that's why, like, consistency in your finances, in your relationship, in your faith, in business, in fitness, consistency is the most important thing, because nobody cares that you used to have a great relationship yesterday. No, but it sucks today, right? Nobody cares that 3 years ago you were in the best shape of your life, but you're 50 pounds overweight today. Nobody cares that you used to own 5 successful businesses, but now you have $100 in the bank, right? I know those are drastic differences, but like, people live in the glory days, dude. It doesn't really matter what happened in the past ish. It really only matters, and you probably only legitimately care about what you have now and what you have in the future. I mean, really think about it, right? And so, because of that, we need to understand, like, for the last C, for the change, how can we sit there and make sure that I'm not just going to change temporarily, but like, I'm going to change and this change is going to last. So you can mess around and kind of put in half-ass effort at step 1 and step 2, and you will get to step 3. Or you can fully commit to step 1 and half-ass step 2 and, see some stuff in step 3. Or you can like kind of make a decision. And this is what happened to this person. He didn't actually make a full step 1. He didn't actually make the first C, but he did really well on the second C. He actually took a chance. He paid, for the program. He showed up for his coach for the most part. He did his stuff, but why couldn't he keep the third C? Why couldn't he keep the change? Why was he on for 2 months, off, on for 2 months, off? Dude, he'd even solved the first one. His mental barrier was he didn't actually fully make a decision of like, this is who I need to be in order to get what I want, in order to be a healthy person, a fit person that has a long, happy, healthy, fit lifestyle until I die. I have to decide that's who I am. It's transformation. Like, I'm becoming this person. I'm no longer, I'm not going to use his name, but like, I'm no longer this person anymore. Like, that person's dead. That person's great. They got me here I am, but I actually have to like reinvent myself. If you guys have ever heard that term, I think it's actually needs to be used way more in society, because that's really what it is. You are reinventing a new version of yourself. If you try to stay with the old version with new habits, it's going to seem very out of alignment for that new version. You literally have to like shed your skin and be like, I'm no longer that person. That person's dead to me. I'm not that person anymore. Like, they're great. That was the 25-year-old me, but I'm different. And that actually makes people lose a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, because you hear, oh, you're too good for me now, or you don't want to hang out with me now. I'm like, no, I am just a different person. So as I grow and develop, should I stay attracted to the same things that other person was? The going out, the partying, the drinking, the sleeping around, whatever the things were? Or should I actually like the things that this person would like, this version of me? We want to be in alignment with ourselves. And this person had a huge problem being in alignment. Like, they were stuck in the old version, although all the desires, they saw themselves being a different person and a different version in the future. So I basically told this individual, hey, you need to go, and I want you to just like journal like all day long. Like, just, and I know like I don't really assign people this, but this person specifically liked journaling. So I said, hey, you need a journal and like ask yourself the hard questions. And I gave him a list of 10 questions. And then I wanted him to basically give 3 responses of like the C's. Like, they were mostly questions based on like, hey, when you got into your, long-term relationship, what were the 3 C's that took place? When you got this job, what were the 3 C's that took place? And he started realizing that like everything in his life that actually became positive, that actually kind of turned out, I guess, like the way he wanted it, was 100% fully committing to the first C, taking 100% action and fully committing to the third C, and then he had the change he wanted. And then he realized that when he didn't do that in every area of his life, it didn't turn out the way that he wanted, which sometimes is a good thing, but most of the time it pisses us off, right? So it's not a hard, it's literally a two-step process. The third C is you just sitting back and watching the show, right? Because we do have a lot of things that are completely out of our control. What's in our control is our thoughts for the most part, right? And our actions for basically all, right? Like you can control every action. There's some that's really, really, really challenging. Some thoughts I think are kind of a little bit out of our control as far as like we don't have to let them keep going, but the initial thought, sometimes it just pop up. Like, you know, it's our subconscious. We only have so much control. However, your actions you are in control of. So all you have to do is say, oh, I want to do this. No, like really, I want to do this. Like I'm going to do this. And then you just go do it. That's it. Right. And you go do it to the best of your ability. And the thing too is don't just go take like random ass action. That's what people do in the gym when they're like, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to start working out because I feel good because I took action. Okay. Don't do that. In step one, take some time to sit there in the first C and be like, all right, I need to make, you know, a choice, right? To take a chance. I need to make a choice. Now, you got to be really smart. It doesn't have to happen at step one, but this is where I do it. And I go, okay, cool. I'm going to change. I'm done. I'm losing this weight. I'm going to gain the muscle. But before I take the chance, I want to make sure my game plan's set up. Because once I go, I'm black or white. I'm not in the gray area. I'm 100%. So I do some research. I make sure my ducks are in order. I make sure I'm in a good place and I'm good to go. Like you would be probably so surprised. I have calls all the time where people are like, I'm ready. Let's go. I have calls where people are like, hey, I need to sit here and I need to get my finances in order, or, you know, I have this job interview coming up, but like next month I'll be ready. Why do people do that? Why not just start now? Because some people, and I'm not saying starting on the spot's bad. It's actually probably good, especially if you're going to talk yourself out of it. But some people need to like build up their arsenal and their self-confidence before they're like, let's go. Right. And those people actually usually do the best because there's no other thing that's holding them back or BS excuses that are going to come up. When I first invested in my business coach, it was a ton of money and I was saving up, not specifically for that, but it was more of a, not like a whim, but I was building up mentally with like, I need to make a change. I need to make a change. I need to make a change. And I said, okay, Stefan, so if an opportunity comes, you know, you could do it. You'll figure out a lot of it as you go, but like you have what you need to jump on it. And so when I was presented with an opportunity and help, I was like, I'm ready. I remember literally on this call, this guy's like, and I've kind of talked about this before, but he's like, yeah, it's like $2,000-$3,000 a month. I was like, dude, that's like more than my mortgage payment. Like, oh man, like, damn, I don't know if I could do this. And he kind of showed me what it came with, and I was like, okay, this is like what I need. And I already knew, I already basically did a lot of asking myself and journaling of like, where do you suck at? Where are you good at? What would you need to be successful? Right. And these are the things that I ask clients on calls, like, where are you struggling? What do you need? And then I'm, you know, find out like, do we offer those things? Do we allow you to identify your weaknesses and be like, I need help there, there, and there. And the clients that do the best know where they suck at. They do. They go, well, I'm really good at getting to the gym. I'm really good, but like I am bad at nutrition. I know I don't track my stuff. I have a huge sweet tooth and I drink too much. So if I can have help in those areas, if I can have some accountability in those areas, I would crush it. And most of them that know where they suck at, and if they could solve it, they could do well. They're actually pretty damn accurate. They're right. And I said the same thing to my coach. I was like, I need this, this, and this. If I get those, get out of my way. That's literally what I said. I was like, just get out of my way and let me work, because I know that that's all I need. It was a lot. It was some really important things, but guess what I did? I made the freaking choice. I took action. I paid them a ton of money, which was even more buy-in for me, because I'm like, okay, so now I have to take action. I don't even have a choice, even if I didn't want to do it, because I'm paying all this money. And, you know, so it was actually a blessing in disguise because it made me work so much harder. And I put in freaking all the effort, and I literally only solved those 3 problems, which was the problems that I already knew I had. And I crushed it. I did really well very quickly because I already went through that process, and I knew that the C was going to take a long time, right? Not just like a couple months, like it was going to take a few years, but I know the C was a very powerful C, right? That change was going to be so powerful. And like I said, did I want temporary change? Hell no. I don't want to be another small business that fails within the first couple years. I wanted change that was going to change my life for the rest of my life. Something you have to understand is if you want that type of change, the first 2 C's are going to be kind of painful. They're going to be very uncomfortable. They're not going to be easy because for you to make that decision to know that you're going to get yourself into years of long hours and hard work, right? Or going to the gym and tracking your food and going on runs when you don't want to and doing all this stuff, that's not an easy decision at all. So you have to make that decision. Then you have to do action day in and day out, day in and day out, regardless if you feel like it, regardless if all the stars align and the circumstances are in your place. You got to get up and do your shit no matter what, over and over and over. But there will be a point. There will be a point where you could be like freaking Thanos if you watch Marvel and you just get to like sit back, put your gauntlet on and like look over all the land, right? Be like, I've done it, man. I've accomplished it. And we have some people go through our program that lose like 50 pounds, 40 pounds, or never had like any abs in their life, freaking pretty ripped and have a 6-pack by the end. And I know they look in the mirror, they're like, I've done it, dude. I've done it. And the thing too is we build habit changes that will last. Like, cool, you have a great body. Can you keep it? Do you have the knowledge and skills and abilities to keep it? Because that's what matters to me. Because I don't want you being like, oh yeah, I went for Pursue Health Performance and I got really good shape, but then I stopped working with them and I gained it all back. We failed you. Something's missing. Why? What's happening? Right? Like, and we do a really good job at that. Our clients continue to do really well, even when they're not working with us because we have a proven system. But that's besides the point. The point is, you guys need to understand that there's so much that happens in life that they're like little things, like the first 2 C's that we don't even realize. We just are like, ooh, this changed, or ooh, this is different. But I almost guarantee if you had any part to play in it, there was a decision and there was either action or inaction. Okay. So to simplify things, if you want success in any area of your life, in my opinion, it's mastering the first 2 C's, right? Because the third one is just, it happens. It's like, hey, I want this to change, or maybe like, I love this. I want this to stay this way. Okay. Now you still have to move on to the next C because you made a choice, right? Like that was your first thing. You made a choice. I like it. I don't like it. It should stay. It should be different. Then the second one is like, okay, I have to take a chance. I have to sit there and take this risk. I have to sit there and take action. And then it's what happens. And sometimes, guys, it's action to not lose it, right? Like I like it this way, so I'm going to do everything in my power so it doesn't change, right? If you have a really healthy relationship and you and your spouse are famously getting along, that's work. Like, yeah, you're supposed to love your spouse and get along, but from somebody that is on his second marriage, I could tell you that marriage is hard. And for me, it's like, if the times that I'm like really great, like me and my wife are, no fights, like we're vibing, we're having so much fun together. Every time I'm like, okay, cool. I cannot do as much work. No, dude, you have to keep working for that. Every time I pull the foot off, what do you know? We start arguing or we're not going on dates anymore. Like, it's a constant work. Same thing as your workout. You're like, oh, I'm jacked now. I guess I could just stop working out. Hell no, dude. Keeping a good physique is so freaking hard. So don't think that just because you've got there, right? Or just because you're on the second C doesn't mean that you're not going to keep having to do action after action after action. yes, you're going to see the change, but it's not going to be like, the first time you make those decisions. So I just want to throw that in there because some people are like, well, what if I like, where I'm at right now? Fine, dude, you can like where you're at right now. You don't always need to do better and better and better and better until you die. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all the choices you're making, anything you want to see happen, that happens before the two C's. They always do. So, guys, I know this episode was a little bit longer, but I want you to understand the mindset and the framework around the three C's because it is super important. It is something to where I think about this stuff all the like all the time of like, hey, what are you doing? How are you making decisions? Why are you making these decisions? Did you follow through? And I'm if you can't tell, like I self-reflect a lot. And sometimes I wish that I could just go through life and like not give a crap, to be honest with you. Because it would be a little bit easier, but I don't wish for an easy life. I don't. I wish for a life where I get better and get stronger to be able to adapt to it. Sure, we all want a comfy life, but I'm telling you right now that I've been at points in my life where I was like really comfortable and just coasting, and it's extremely depressing. For me, it's depressing. I think men specifically, we need challenges, we need competition, we need to conquer things. Um, and I think when we're sitting there and we're just comfort and coasting, we start to lose like who we are. And I see this when people would get out of the military when I was in the Air Force is they no longer had a mission. They no longer had a purpose. They were still making good money, but they were depressed. Why do all these vets, 22 of them commit suicide a day? A lot of them in their suicide notes and their friends and family have said they felt like they lost who they were. So it shows that they need a mission and a goal and an identity. And it's just something to work towards, right? And work for. So if you're not self-reflecting, if you're not always trying to elicit some type of change, right? And the change doesn't have to be different, right? It could be like, and I know maybe you would want to switch the last letter, but you could be like, I'm going to keep fighting for this thing to stay how it is because it's awesome. Cool. But that's one area in your life. And unless every area of your life is literally perfect, which I'm sure it's not, you should keep fighting. You should keep working, and not because you're some egotistical person that's never satisfied with anything. Because sometimes people even look at me like that, like, oh, you just always want to do more and always want to get in better shape and always want to grow this and do this. No, no, no. It's because the work, it's because the mission, it's because the drive to accomplish is actually where the joy is at. That's actually what makes me happy. That's actually what makes me passionate and actually what makes me alive. Because once I get to the top of the mountain, then what? Let's go back down, right? It's literally the climb up that is the fun part. You can enjoy the top, not saying don't do that, but I've seen more depression from people that have made it or are making $150,000 a year. And then all of a sudden they start getting fat. Well, you did what you want, right? And they're like, well, I've made it. My job's cake. I'm making good money, whatever. And then I'm like, why are you depressed, dude? You have a family, you have a beautiful wife, you have kids, you're making good money. Like, and the depression leads to the overeating and getting out of shape. I'm like, what? Why? And they go, dude, I don't know. And then you start digging into some of these men and their brains, and you realize like before they had to like climb the ladder and climb the ladder and climb the ladder. And that drive made them legitimately have like higher testosterone because competition can help raise testosterone. They felt like they needed to be more hungry and grind. And that like forward momentum, right? That like locomotive freaking forward motion, that is actually what kept them in shape because they felt like they had to work towards something. And once we sit there and once we freaking chill, dude, I'm telling you, like it's not, you don't have to go 110% all the time, but that leads to the most depression that I've seen out of any man, right? Besides, like, obviously, there's a lot of like trauma and past abuse and shit like that happens, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from a fitness perspective. So I want you guys to keep working towards your goals. I want you guys to always have something to work towards because I know that it drives you. Like I'm telling you. And if I'm the only one and I'm just like completely full of crap, please let me know. But I cannot tell you how many men that I've had a talk with that have told me the same thing. Like they need that. And I can tell you from being in the military and working with guys that were younger than me all the way to like 60 years old when I was in my 20s, um, that they need that, right? And that's why guys have so many freaking hobbies, because they always like need something to do, a gun to build, a car to fix, right? Like there's a reoccurring theme. And so all you have to do is just channel that same energy into your body just enough to where you are healthy and you are happy, and you can sit there and self-identify where your weaknesses are so you can make the changes. Um, I really appreciate you guys tuning in this episode. Obviously, you could tell I'm really passionate about this stuff, about the mindset. And I used to struggle with this for a long, long time. I will tell you, in our program, it's, I don't sit there and get on calls and give people mindset talks all the time. That's why I do this podcast. But I wish I would have had a podcast that talked me through this stuff instead of learning it the hard way through failed relationships and, living years of my life where I look back now and I'm like, you sucked during that year. Like you could have done better. And although I'm only 32, man, if I would have known what I'm saying now 10 years ago, bro, like, dude, I don't even know where I would be right now. I'd be insane. So I'm learning more and more every day. And what I learn, I want to share with you guys so you can level up your life as much as possible. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.